Have you ever felt just completely lost? So far from the person you actually want to be that you can't even imagine finding your way back? Well, today we're diving into a really powerful piece of wisdom from the heart of Hasidic teaching. It's a practical method for building that inner strength for exactly those moments. It's a feeling we all know, right? That sinking sensation when you look in the mirror and all you can see are your shortcomings, your missteps. You just feel completely overwhelmed, and that best version of yourself, it seems impossibly far away. Now, this state of mind, it's more than just a bad mood. The teachings we're looking at would call it a spiritual predicament. It's that deep feeling of being disconnected from your own inner goodness, like the real you has just gone into hiding. And this, right here, is the real danger. The source explains that this sense of failure can become so totally paralyzing that it just silences you. It makes you feel unworthy of even speaking, of reaching out through prayer. You're just stuck in the dark. So what's really fascinating here is how these teachings don't just write this off as a mood. Nope, they actually identify it as an internal antagonist, a specific spiritual force with a very clear and very cold objective. In Jewish thought, Amalek isn't just some historical tribe from the past. It's a living symbol for an inner voice. This voice is the force of Krirut, a deep, numbing coldness, and Leitzanut, a kind of mocking, dismissive cynicism. And its only goal? To pour water on the fire of your spirit. This quote from the sources just captures its strategy perfectly. Think about that for a second. It doesn't scream at you. It cools you. It's that creeping apathy that chills your passion, your belief, your motivation, making everything feel kind of pointless and draining all the warmth from your life. And this metaphor is just so powerful. Imagine a bath that's boiling hot. Nobody dares get in. Amalek is the one who just recklessly jumps right in. And yeah, he gets burned, but his act cools the water just enough for other people to look and think, maybe it's not so bad after all. He makes these self-destructive, spiritually damaging choices seem like a totally viable option. And this is the message of that inner coldness, right? It's that whisper in your ear that says, you're fundamentally flawed, all your efforts are meaningless, you should just give up. It's a voice of total self-rejection. Okay, so this is the million-dollar question. When the enemy is your own internal despair, fighting it head-on, that usually doesn't work. Thankfully, the great Hasidic master Rabbi Nachman of Breslov offers a completely different strategy. Instead of fighting the darkness, he tells us to do something pretty radical. Turn on a small light. You have to actively search for sparks of goodness within yourself, no matter how tiny or insignificant they seem. And this is the core of his entire method. The method is called Azamera, which means I will sing. The whole idea is to find something to sing about, even when you feel like you have absolutely nothing. It's almost like an ancient form of cognitive reframing. You consciously shift your focus to find just one point of goodness, one good intention, one small positive thing you've done in your entire life. So here's how this brilliant practice actually works. First, you search. You really look. Then you find what's called an akuda tova, a good point, even if it's hidden inside an action that was mostly imperfect. Then, and this is the key, you use that single point to revive yourself, to feel a real flicker of joy. And finally, you just repeat the process. You keep collecting these good points, creating a melody from these single good notes. And this shows the shift in perspective perfectly. The voice of despair, that inner Amalek, it dismisses everything. It says, oh, that good thing you did, it was mixed with ego, so it doesn't count. But the voice of the good point says, yeah, okay, maybe it was flawed, but inside that action, there was a genuine spark of goodness. And that spark is real. And here is where it gets really profound. Rabbi Nachman teaches that before you can really apply this to yourself, you have to train your eye. You have to practice seeing the good in other people first to judge them favorably. There's this incredible story about Rabbi Nachman's mean student, Rabbi Natan, that just illustrates this perfectly. It shows how seeing the good in others is literally the key that unlocks the door to seeing the good in ourselves. So, the scene is set. Rabbi Natan asks his student, Rabbi Meir, about some guy. And Rabbi Meir just quickly writes him off, basically saying, he's a nobody, not worth our time. Wow, what a powerful challenge, right? Rabbi Natan is saying that a critical eye doesn't just stop at other people. If your default setting is to see what's wrong with everyone, that same critical lens is going to turn inward and condemn you too. And that's exactly what had happened. Rabbi Meir, in his honesty, he admits it. That critical eye has already done its work on his own soul. He feels just as unworthy as the man he just dismissed. And there it is. That's the solution. This is the heart of the lesson. By training yourself to find the good point in every single person, you literally develop a new way of seeing. That generous eye is then able to find the good within you. It's an act of ahavat Yisrael, that deep love for your fellow, which is what ultimately opens the door to self-compassion. So what's the end result of this whole practice? I mean, it's not just about feeling a little bit better. We're talking about a complete spiritual transformation from the inside out. See, every good point you find acts like a weight. By collecting them one by one, you literally tip the scales of your own self-judgment. You move yourself from being defined by your faults to being defined by your merits, and that brings joy and life flooding back into your soul. This is probably one of Rabbi Nachman's most famous teachings, and it just sums everything up. If you believe in the power of your mistakes to cause damage, then you must also believe in the power of your good points to heal and to repair. The power to build is just as real as the power to break, maybe even more so. That one good point you find, it's like a single spark in the darkness, or one drop of water. It might seem tiny and insignificant, but from that one point, a whole fountain of spiritual vitality can emerge, washing away all that coldness and cynicism, and giving you a reason to sing again. So let's just end with that question. Directly for you. Take a moment, right now. With all the noise and self-criticism, what is one simple, undeniable good point you can find in yourself? What's the very first note in the song of your own goodness?